For more on the refugee crisis, I spoke with Kathleen Newland. She's a senior fellow and co-founder of the Migration Policy Institute. And I started by asking her if she's optimistic that Europe will come up with a solution to its refugee crisis.
Well, I think the Europeans, through this intricate process that they have 28 member countries in the EU, and they all have to get on board to some extent for the EU to move forward as a body. And I think we're beginning to see some signs that may happen. I think there's more assistance to the frontline countries, particularly Greece, to give them the help they need to register people, to receive them humanely, get them out of the cold and the rain, and then more attention to trying to sort of triage the stream of refugees and see, who really is a refugee and therefore has a right to stay in Europe, at least for a time. The lines are not so easy to draw between the refugees and people who are moving for economic reasons but are still really, really desperate. So that's been a difficult thing to come around to. And of course, the biggest issue within the European Union has been where are people going to end up? And the overwhelming majority are in Germany and Sweden, other European countries ranging from the former Eastern Bloc countries all the way across to Britain are just not doing their share.
What is your biggest concern? You did mention weather for these refugees who are continuing to make this journey. And for those who are also in these camps, I mean, the weather is just getting colder.
The European countries have just not really been prepared for the kind of numbers that we're seeing this year. So even in very well-organized and prosperous countries like Germany and Sweden, the challenge of providing accommodation for people is really severe. So in Sweden, they've had people placed temporarily in tents. That's not where you want to spend a Swedish winter. And it is really very difficult, particularly as the burden falls overwhelmingly on those two countries. But Europe is a wealthy continent. It's a well-organized continent for the most part. And as Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, keeps saying, we can manage this. It's just a question of sharing the burdens fairly and finding the resources to do that in the short term.
We have a minute left. Last week, the UN Security Council approved a resolution for a peace process in Syria. Will that make any difference at all?
It will make a difference in the long term, but it won't make a difference overnight because Syria is so destroyed. And of course, we don't know who will be in charge of what parts of Syria after a peace arrangement is made. So it's going to take Syrian refugees quite some time to have the confidence to go home and to have something to go home to.